All right, welcome back to another episode of Scene Interpretation. I am Dr. Sophia Murphy. I'm a licensed therapist here in Arizona, and I am a huge fan of all things cinema and movies. And I've been having such a great time on this podcast, chatting with my favorite people about my favorite movies. Today is no different. My shirt is a little bit of a spoiler, if you can see it. Today, I am hanging out with the lovely Olivia, who I adore. And we're going to be talking about Jurassic Park. So if you want to introduce yourself, we'll
Sure.
go from there.
Sure. My name's Olivia. I also enjoy movies, but I guess maybe not as much as Sophia because I haven't seen Jurassic Park prior to this. But it's been on my list. Just one of those things I never got around to. So excited to chat about it.
Well, and honestly, it just means I'm lucky because I get to hang out with you as you come upon this classic.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, it was fun because you have seen a lot of movies. It's not like you don't watch them. And when we were chatting, like you were even throwing movies I haven't seen. And I was taking notes. So that's an exciting thing we'll get to at the end. And for those who have been watching and listening, we started this whole podcast with Jaws because Jaws is the movie that really made me love movies because it scared me, it thrilled me. I couldn't understand how they got away with it, how they actually got that on screen. And Jurassic Park is right there. So I distinctly remember, this is how old I am, when reading the newspaper for movie reviews and like waiting excitedly to see what Siskel and Ebert would say about a movie and what the local film person was for your local newspaper would say about the movie. And there was all this buzz about how scary this movie was, how graphic it was. People were like leaving the theater. It wasn't really for kids, even though it was a Spielberg movie. And so, of course, I had to see it because I needed to know like what could be so crazy about this movie. I had no idea what to get into or what I was getting into. And so now it's funny as an adult because I realized two of my most probably like mind-bending movies that made me fall in love are Spielberg movies. And his fingerprint is all over this. Yes.
Yeah.
And rewatching it, you can see so many parallels to Jaws as well and the way that he builds tension and all the little details. But yeah, so I'm so excited that you were willing to do this one.
Yeah.
I'm interested in crossing it off your classics list.
Yes, definitely.
Because wow, it really has, I think, so much influence on the culture. So I guess what was your relationship to this movie, even though you hadn't seen it?
I just knew it existed. I knew it was a park with dinosaurs and the dinosaurs get out somehow and start hurting people, like that kind of thing. And I think I have seen one of the newer Jurassic Park ones. I think it's the one where like is it like Bryce Dallas Howard? I don't know. She gets like picked up.
There's
like,
three with her.
Oh, okay. Well, it's one, I think the one where she dies, maybe.
She doesn't die.
Oh, okay. Maybe not. Something like that.
They're always in peril.
Okay.
So
well, that one. I think that is the one. Whatever that one is. So it seems like it was similar of like, rich person opens a park. No safety precautions.
The hubris.
People die. Like that's kind of it. So I was like, okay, it'll probably be similar, but I think it was a lot more fun to watch than that what I remember from that one. And then like the the trailers that I've seen for all of the others, like subsequent ones that have come out of like, oh my gosh, this actually looks really good. I think that was the first thing I said, like when my partner and I were watching, I was like, wow, the CGI is like actually kind of really good. And then the puppets, obviously, like insane. But I was like, this looks really good for being 93 or something. I was like, this looks really good.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you nailed something that unfortunately the newer movies are always trying to capture, which is that awe and wonder of seeing a dinosaur on screen in a way that, I mean, again, logically, it's not real. Viscerally, you go with it. Like it captures you. And that's one of the things that I remember too was the CGI, especially for the time, was groundbreaking. At the moment you see an actual part of the dinosaur or even the little triceratops and they clearly built this entire animatronic dinosaur for them to interact with. And as a little kid, I do remember asking, like, did they figure out how to clone dinosaurs? Like,
you're like, is this real?
Is this an actual place on the planet you can go to? Like, how did they put this on screen?
Right.
And I think that part really actually still holds up because the suspense, the music we'll get into, but the whole experience really brings you along.
Yeah,
for sure.
I definitely knew the music too. Yes, the main theme. I had definitely heard that before. So I was like, oh, right. It's all
Bringing
coming
you
together.
back
Yes.
again. Yeah, I love it. So basically kind of with that, the T-Rex reveal is one of the most like culturally cinematic, I would say celebrated moments.
Mm.
I'm wondering if like knowing about it, even though you hadn't seen it, if it changed how you experienced it, or if you noticed, were you like waiting for it, or were you just along for the ride?
I think I was definitely waiting for it because I don't know, because they go on the ride and they're like kind of going through and you're not seeing any of the dinosaurs. And so it was just kind of like, oh gosh, something bad's gonna happen.
Right.
And like, I think the whole time, basically, I was just like, why is no one moving faster to like
Sure.
fix things? Why are there no safety precautions in place? It feels like nothing. Like, I
Yes.
just was like so baffled the whole time, especially because the wealthy guy, I forget what his name is.
Hammond,
Sure.
the older man.
Yes.
Yeah.
His grandchildren and I was like, why are we not acting with more urgency with
Excellent
with
question.
his like
Yeah.
little children like that are on this ride? Yeah, so I was definitely waiting for it because it's like we haven't seen anything really yet of like the big scary things that we've seen the Velociraptor like rip apart the cow kind of, but like we haven't seen the actual like scary dinosaurs yet. So yeah, it's like where is it? Where is it gonna come? Where? So
Yeah. No, I agree. And even rewatching it, I think it's interesting to see how much time it takes to get to the shit show.
right.
Right. And so like to your point, like the lighting is bright, the music is cheery. When they first get in the Jeeps and they're like setting out, it's very like upbeat. When they first even get there and they have to watch that little video about the DNA and like how they made it, it's like a kid's theme.
Yeah, like I'm at Disney right
Correct.
now.
And you're like chill and with them and curious and
Because
excited.
nothing bad could happen if you're presenting it like that. Like
Absolutely.
obviously nothing bad would happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what you thought about some of maybe like those Easter eggs. So even when they go to the raptor enclosure and they feed it the cow, again, daylight, outdoors, brightly lit, like the mood is very like chill. And at the same time, we're juxtaposing this must contain an incredibly dangerous creature that we have to feed with a crane.
Yeah.
And then the one guy who works in the park is explaining to you because they started attacking the handlers.
Right.
And then they attack the electric fences and they've been testing it for weaknesses and they remember. And so when I was rewatching, I was like, oh, this is telling us right now what we're up against before we're maybe even on our radar of what we're up against. So I wonder how that part landed.
Definitely, because because I took notes as well. I think I put some of that stuff too of like when they were in like the lab too with the scientists and stuff like that. I think they were saying stuff like that of like, oh my gosh, like why, like they're saying, oh, they're all female dinosaurs, so like nothing, like they can't reproduce. That's not going to happen. And then was it Jeff Goldblum who's like life finds a way or something like that?
The famous line.
Yeah. So which Alex, my partner, he also was like, oh, that's really famous. I was like, I've never heard that. He was like, so said it, they said it. I was like, oh no, I've never heard that. I was like, great line though, but I loved it. But I was like, yeah, I was like, they kind of were setting up all of the, you're totally right of like these bad things are going to happen, and they're telling you exactly kind of how they're going to happen.
100%.
Yeah. And
I also really honed in this time too that we actually see the raptor for the first time as the baby. It's the one that comes out of the egg.
Yeah.
And for some reason that hit different when I was rewatching it of like, that's our actual first like full dinosaur interaction. Because when they see the brontosaurus, obviously it's huge and it's very moving, but they can't interact with it. And so when they interact with this little newly hatched Velociraptor, we're still supposed to recognize like this is a lethal animal that looks cute because it was just born, but we're treating it like it's a human baby.
True.
Just so much hubris of like, oh, it's so cute and it's being born. And it's like, that thing will rip your innards out.
And wasn't he like kind of like chewing on his like finger, like how like puppies do or whatever too? But it was like, oh yeah, because he doesn't have any teeth yet or something like that.
It's just like this really interesting mix of, again, like, treating it so like chill and happy. And you're right, no urgency at all, because again, like this is a contained environment, supposedly, and nothing could go wrong. Right. Which I just think is so interesting. So I'm wondering if knowing that this movie really changed what movies could look like, kind of going back to the CGI, how that might have affected any thoughts of how you were supposed to feel about it versus just like feeling how you felt when you watched it.
I think definitely when I watch like older movies, it tends to, especially, I think the ones that are supposed to be the classics and stuff, you're like, well,
Sure.
it's a classic and groundbreaking for a reason. So I think
Yep.
you kind of, even if maybe sometimes the CGI looks like kind of cheesy to our standards or
Sure.
something like that, you're like, oh, like of its time, you have to think of its time, like
Right.
probably what the audiences were experiencing. So I think that, like, I was definitely experiencing that. But it was so good too. So
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was like, oh, like, good job, like, pat on the back, good job, like, you tried for your time. But it
Right.
actually, like, it still very much holds up. Like,
Yeah.
when you see those big, like, I don't know, when he's sleeping in the tree with the kids and the big
Oh,
one
yeah.
comes up,
Like,
like,
those are the same
yeah,
brontosaurus, I
exactly.
think. I should know this
I
because
know,
I love this movie.
don't know the kinds of dinosaurs, but he comes up and I'm like, oh my gosh, how incredible to like have
Yes.
that puppet or animatronic like eating
Yep.
the leaves and
Yep.
like I don't know, just the interaction with it was so cool. So it really felt like fresh, even though it was older. I don't know,
I
it
agree.
felt fresh and new and
Yep. It really
exciting.
lands
Yeah,
still. Like, I think that is a testament to what they were able to pull off. I can't even do that math. Let's just say 30
yeah,
plus years ago.
yeah.
33, is that right? Um, and how emotive it was at the time.
Yeah.
It really pulled that out of you. So I guess kind of in that same vein, walk me through the moment when you first saw the dinosaurs on screen and how that hit you.
I've seen that like clip of them like rising out of the Jeep, like
Yes.
going through. I love that. So that's just like I think such a great way to like show it of like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you're so awestruck of like seeing what's in front of you. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Spielberg is so good at that kind of stuff.
I
So seeing
agree.
that, it was like you just feel that like you're there with them. And then
Yep.
also I think the dinosaurs are pretty far away too. So they seem even bigger
Yes.
than
Such a
they
good
are. So I don't know, just yeah, you're definitely there with them of like, whoa, this is so cool. And then for the scary dinosaurs,
yeah.
um, I just kept thinking because obviously knowing it's not real, just being like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work that these people had to put in to make this happen. Of
So
like just like
true.
thinking of again, like with technology being more rudimentary back then, of like,
Yeah.
how do they do this? Of like
Agree.
making it look so good.
Yes.
So yeah, the dinosaurs were definitely scary, especially the T-Rex. And it kind of brought me back because when I was a kid, I used to go to like the children's museum and they had a dinosaur exhibit, but
Yeah.
there was a T-Rex one
Okay.
and it was very scary. And it was kind of like that. It was like animatronics, like that would be behind a bar, or whatever. And I like vividly remember myself like being at the edge of the room, like walking
Just
against
in
the
case,
wall,
right?
like trying to get out of the room, just like against the wall because it was so scary. So
Yeah.
like imagining probably if I was a kid and I had seen that, I would probably have the exact same things. Like
Yeah.
I saw those things at the children's museum when I was a kid, but like
100%.
yeah, so
Yep.
yeah, definitely like
And it's
scary,
visceral,
scary.
right? Like they
Totally.
pulled it off where you see it, you're processing it, but then you also feel it.
Hmm.
And I remember being in the movie theater and I don't remember as much viscerally again, like seeing the brontosaurus for the first time or even the triceratops that's sick.
Hmm.
But I definitely remember when you see the T Rex through the trees in the rain.
Like the eye and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
And then he makes that terrifying sound.
Mhm.
And then that scene where he steps in the mud and it gives you that what's the word I want for how big he is compared to the
Mhm.
car.
The comparison, size
Yeah,
comparison, yeah.
exactly. And so all of that building of like this is affordable creature that we've never experienced before that will literally not only rip this car apart, but just smash these people to bits or eat them.
Mhm.
Which death is worse? I don't
Right.
know. But just how again visceral it felt, real it felt, and to know to your point, like they had to build that dinosaur in pieces so that every time it's coming into the frame, you're feeling the weight and the magnitude of it
Mhm.
without having to use computers.
Right.
And it was just so amazing to see what they were able to do and to be like, I'm sure I was so small, my feet wouldn't like touch the ground in the theater, but be like in the seat and like, what am I seeing? Like, this
Yeah.
is so mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I do think that part still lands after all these
I
years.
think so too. I wasn't as scared,
Sure.
but as maybe I probably would have been if I had seen it as a kid. But it was definitely like gets your heart racing a little because like
Yeah.
you said, it takes quite a bit to get there.
Yeah.
And then it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not stopping. Like it's still going on. Like he's still spinning those poor kids around in the Jeep. I think that was one of the things I wrote. I was like, how are these kids not dead? Like genuinely, like
for sure. In real life.
Yeah.
I don't know that they would have survived.
No, I don't think so.
Literally too. But even the scene where he comes through the Jeep.
Oh my God.
And they have to hold the glass up together. Like those are such pivotal emotional like crisis moments where the heightened suspense and all the action is coming together that even just re-seeing it, I'm like, first of all, the kids are amazing as actors. Like the terror is so real. Yeah. And even when it cuts to Malcolm and Grant and the other Jeep watching, it's just like excellent. Like all the angles are excellent. Like again,
I was like, why is no one doing anything? that was just the whole time. I was like, why are none of the adults doing anything? I feel like they're taking a really long time to act.
Honestly, great criticism, because I was thinking today, it sure took Grant a minute to turn around in his own Jeep to find the box that had the flares in it. I'm like, I feel like they just waited so we got that scene with the kids and the T-Rex coming through the glass. He had to take a minute to turn around and actually find the flare that was going to draw the T-Rex's attention away. Yeah, you totally nailed it. Was there any specific scene that maybe made you pause, either because it was thrilling or scary, or just any moment where you're like, whoa, like I'm really wrapped up in this?
I think the one scene that actually got me, like kind of a jump scare, is Laura Dern. She had to run through the forest, go to the building to turn the electricity back on. So I wasn't scared about them getting electrocuted on the thing, though. I will say I did have a laugh when the kid got electrocuted. The way he flew off really got me. Just because I wasn't expecting him to fly
Timmy.
back. I know. I wasn't expecting him to fly back like that, so it that got me. But no, it was like after she turned it on, and then all of a sudden the raptor was in the things, and that one got me. Yes. So I was like, how did he get in there? Like she's down in this cage, like downstairs.
Absolutely.
How did he get there? So that one was the one that scared me for sure. That was like the one big jump scare of like, oh, how is she gonna make out make out of this? So.
And again, I think at those moments, those close-up moments, it's an animatronic or a puppet or something. It's not computerized. So when its face just shows up, it's a smaller version of the T-Rex, right? Like it's so realistic, so perfectly centered, and just like pops into frame. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think that's when she turns backwards and Samuel Jackson's arm falls on her.
Yes.
And then she turns around and it's not attached to his body.
Yes.
I remember that scene because that was pretty gory for back then too, of like the body part.
Right.
With all the blood on it.
Yeah.
And her having the back-to-back experience of the raptor and thinking Sam Jackson's there. No. He's gone. Yeah, he did not survive.
Yeah, and then just her, like, I don't know, her like communication device is like all wrapped around her leg, and she's like running, and I'm like, oh my God, girl, get out of there! Like, how did that thing get in there? I know. Yeah,
but it feels again like at that point in it, we've really ratcheted up the peril. I mean, it is chaos across the park in every direction.
Yeah.
And I do love that scene because it feels very real, where she's just like desperately trying to get to some other version of safety because that was not a safe space to be in at all. Oh, fantastic. Let's see. So where do I want to go next? Maybe let's talk about Hammond a little bit. We can get into the money and kind of the whole backstory of how we even got here. Yeah. So one of his famous lines is, "We've spared no expense," except the one place he actually cut costs was the thing that brought it all down, the safety and the security.
Right.
And so I'm wondering what you think about maybe people who might spare no expenses in the wrong ways while neglecting the things that actually matter and hold things together.
Yeah, I think I wrote that one down specifically because I think I was like, interesting.
Yep.
I also wrote, I hate how money rules everything.
Yes. Let's come back to that too, because I feel like that's a big threat as an adult now watching this movie.
Yeah, I just like... It was, the obscenely wealthiness part of it, especially when they're having like this extravagant dinner when they first get there, and like this dark, like Bond villain type room.
Such a good point.
And then they're like, yeah, we want the park to be accessible. We'll have coupon days. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Like, type, that whole, I was like, whoa. I was like, I wasn't even thinking that this would be open to the masses. And so for them to then be like, kind of joking about that. I was like, okay, we see what's going on here. We see what's going on here. Yeah, so definitely the extreme wealth and yeah, just cutting back on like, yeah, we'll spend all this money on all of the gifts in the gift store and stuff. And it's like, why don't
Absolutely.
the why don't the cars automatically lock? Like,
Yeah.
like all of
It
these.
says like number item 156 of things we need to address on our
Yes.
test run today.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. So I think it was just baffling of like, is this really ready to go? Like, I didn't,
Clearly not.
yeah, because it just felt like it was being presented as such, and I was like, is this? Because it just feels like there's three people that work here, and
Such a good point that I don't know that I ever thought about until you just said that it's that one little control
yes,
room.
I'm like, who else is doing everything?
Yeah.
I'm like, you can't run any kind of park.
That's such a good
Like
point.
even like the playground, like down the street or something. Like you need more than four people to take care of it. So
Such a baffling, important perspective that you're sharing. Is who else was working there besides? There's a lot of people in the lab, so that's
true,
also interesting.
true. Yeah,
The
where are they when all this is
works.
happening? Like I don't know.
Really.
Yeah, exactly. So there was just like so many like it's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that too of like the behind the scenes people of them being in like DR getting the amber, but then this is in Costa Rica. I was like, oh, this is like a worldwide like
Underground
operation because I literally was like I think I wrote down I was like how close is DR to Costa? I was like I don't think it's that close and I looked at it on the map and I was like it's a fair
It's a general area of the world.
yeah, but it's not like right next to each other.
Sure.
I was like
Yeah.
oh my gosh they're traversing trying to make this happen
For what they want.
exactly. I was
Yep.
like wow that's crazy.
100%. Well, and something I'm almost a little embarrassed to admit landed differently this time because, again, I've seen this so many times,
Mhm.
but maybe it's just because of the state of the world we're into.
Mhm.
But the entire inciting incident is that an employee was viciously eaten to death by the park's attraction,
Right.
right? So, like, we can talk about, I think, how amazing that scene is for setting the tone of the movie. And
Totally.
for some reason, this time, it really hit me different that the entire reason they're going to this island is to prove that they're basically not responsible for this man's death.
Mhm.
Because the attorney has this line about how, like, we're being sued by the family,
Mhm.
rightfully so,
Right.
of this man who was eaten alive while doing his job. And in order to get out of the lawsuit and still be able to open up the park, we need to have these people come and give us the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
I don't know why I never put those two together. Like, I understood the idea that it was, risky. We have all these, animals that we created that are extinct. For some reason, I think I always saw it through the lens of like, this is just kind of our last stage to open, but
Mm.
not to avoid responsibility for a man's death under our lack of safety precautions.
Right.
And I think with the like money aspect, obviously Hammond's some sort of billionaire.
Mhm.
The, spared no expense does not equal safety. I think that really landed different this time because it was
Totally.
also to get out of something that they did.
Right.
And I wonder what you think about the fact that like all those pieces come together and this poor man dies in the beginning. And instead of taking responsibility and fixing it, it's just like, oh, we need more people to come and tell us we're already good to go.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting too because I feel like we don't hear about him ever again after
Correct.
after the lawyer says that one thing. Like it's
Right.
just more like approve the park that it feels more like it's under the scientific thing of like, is this
Yeah.
scientifically moral type thing?
I agree.
Not is this a hazardous workplace or something like that? Where it's like, no, it's more based on the science of like, is this ethical in that way? And not like maybe it's ethical for the people working there. Like
any of that.
yeah, Sam Jackson dies, the other Australian or whatever guy dies.
Yeah,
too.
the guy looks like a Outback.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, yeah, I think we're not really thinking about the people also who are
Agreed.
having to work and do that. Because that's the first thing that when we were watching it and they're loading in that Velociraptor, we're like, one, it's like nighttime and like raining kind of when you talk about mood, like scary. But again, we're like, how is it? How did that even, how did that even happen? Of like, that should have never been.
It should have never occurred.
Yeah, exactly.
And for some reason that landed so differently when I was rewatching it of just like, yeah, like we fucked up. Like we run this place. We endangered our employee. He died. And now we're more worried about the lawsuit and the delay as opposed to actually taking accountability and making it right. We are skirting what happened to get what we want. And that just landed so heavily of like, that feels a little too familiar to what we're dealing with on a day-to-day
Right.
basis. Instead of actually owning up and fixing our shit, we're just gonna say, "Hey, look over here,"
Yeah.
and go that
And
direction.
completely pushed aside and forgot
Absolutely.
about
Yeah.
what the whole reason this movie exists is because.
Yeah, so I don't know, that really just stood out to me this time of
No,
just like,
totally.
what a wild, inciting event to, like, set off the story to
Mhm.
then never really revisit it, other
Mhm.
than the hubris is the one thread that goes from
Yeah.
start to finish.
And also, not to mention all of those people who are working there and in the mines also all people of color
Oh
too.
my god, yes,
Like, that's the first
100%.
thing that I noticed too, and I was like, "Oh," and then everyone else in the movie is white. And I
Yeah,
was like,
the
"Oh, right, right,
exploitation
right, right,
part
right, right,
is
right,
real
right."
different,
Yeah,
especially now in
totally,
2026.
totally. I was like, "Oh, so they were actually, like, I get maybe making a commentary on that a little bit? I don't know,
I
or
mean,
if it's coming,
honestly,
you know."
I obviously stan Spielberg, so
Right.
maybe I'm giving him a lot of credit,
Fair.
but I'd like to think that, yes, that was
Yeah.
intentional around the greed and around that, need for what they want at whatever cost. That's
Right.
really the cost we need to be talking about, is the spared no expenses, like human life,
Yeah.
for just trying to get what they desire out of all of it.
Yeah.
I did think that too, because the handler or whatever we call him, was a black man that dies in that
Yeah.
opening
Yeah.
scene. And I was like, "Oh my god, low-hanging fruit." It just
Mhm.
really shows you so much from how not just the 90s, how so many movies you kill off that first actor of color
Right.
right out the gate.
Might as well.
Oh god, I know. So kind of in that vein, but on the other side of it, the dinosaurs aren't really the villains,
Mhm.
right? They're just animals doing what they do.
Right.
And so I wonder what you think about the movie. On the surface is villainizing them because they're the threat, right? They're
Right.
the monsters. But how do we make sense of the thing doing what it's designed to do
Right.
versus the people who seem to be the victim?
Right. Yeah, I don't think I ever, while watching this, ever thought that the dinosaurs were the villains.
Yeah.
I think it was, again, safety precaution. Like, I could not get over how nothing made sense in terms of that. So yeah, that, and then also like, maybe it must have been something like underlying, and maybe you know more about this since you've seen it multiple times and stuff, but like the dinosaurs are like sick, and I was like, I feel like animal welfare is not really great in this park either, because they mentioned multiple times of these dinosaurs being sick or having like a cough or something like that too. So I was like, oh, so they're really treating these animals that they've created that they need to take care of as, money makers, and not actually taking care of them, planting the poisonous plants or whatever that they're not supposed to have. So that it was just like, wow, this is really greedy people just trying to like put things in a park. It'll work because they're not technically real. I don't know, because they're clones, they can't reproduce, all of that kind of stuff. It just felt like, oh, nothing can go wrong because this is our creation. We made it.
I think that's really the key, at least my understanding, is it's more a commentary on that false sense of control. So I think Ellie has that line when they're eating around, like, you have plants in this building that are poisonous. You pick them because they look pretty. So the same idea of like, you bred these dinosaurs or created these dinosaurs because you thought it would be cool, but you have no idea how this animal is going to react in an environment that it doesn't understand. Like, we literally went from 0 to 1,000. And the same with having plants in the area where the dinosaurs roam. That's toxic. You probably just put them there because they're pretty, or you didn't think to remove them if they grow there. I'm not a botanist. I don't know if that West Indian lilac grows there. It definitely, it can't be in the area that the dinosaur is going to be in because it's toxic. So I think your point is just that they were so focused on this godlike personality or whatever, this control that they thought they had, that they didn't think of any of the consequences, and they didn't account for any of the consequences other than some fences.
Right. And it kind of feels like that totally too when they're on the tour and they're not seeing any of the dinosaurs, and they're like, oh no, like 0 for 3 kind of thing, where it's like dance monkey, like come out and like perform for us, and where it's like you can't, obviously we don't know, I guess, too much about how a dinosaur would really react, but it's like, at a zoo you can't make like the polar bears like
come out.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
If they don't want to. So they kind of felt like that of like, man, like nothing's happening. Like they need to come out. Like, let's try to get it out with the go. Like perform those kinds of things.
100%.
So it was like, you can't force them to do that because you've made this living thing. So yeah, that frustration too, I think. I definitely feel that. And I'm like, like, are things not working? Like, how are we gonna make money if no one
Right.
is
Is this
sees
gonna
what they
delay us, like,
Yeah.
further? And I think even Malcolm has a line about how, like, you didn't really have to study them.
Mm,
You took somebody else's research, and
yeah.
then you just implemented it, you didn't work for it,
Yes.
so you can't really understand the responsibility of it. And I think you're exactly right. Like, just because you made this thing in a lab and threw it in the wilderness,
Mhm.
it's not gonna just do what you want it to
Yeah.
do. Like, we have no way of knowing, to your exact point, how a velociraptor interacts in its day-to-day life. There's no way to study that
Right.
and then try to put it in a habitat. I mean,
Right.
there's lots of feelings about that anyway, but try to put it in a habitat that closely mirrors some sort of freedom
Mhm.
with all the things that they need. There's no way to do that
Right.
because they didn't exist in the time that we existed in
Right.
until we forced these two species together at the same time. So it is fascinating, I think, just to see how, like, I think their lack of safety really came from that sense of control that was completely asinine.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, again, yeah, nothing bad can happen because we're in such a controlled environment.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've controlled every variable up until now.
Right.
So we couldn't possibly have missed anything.
Right.
Oh, it's so interesting to
Mhm.
me. Okay, let's talk about some of your notes. What
Okay.
stood out to you?
Let's see. Um, yeah, I was like, who would this park be for if you have
Yeah.
to get to the park like this when they were flying in on the helicopter? I was like,
100%.
how can anyone get to this
That's
park
actually
in
a great
general?
point too. Can you imagine the line of helicopters to, like, land and
Yes, yeah. I was like,
blow
this
people
doesn't make
off?
any sense. I wrote that I had rewatched The Land of Time, The Land Before Time recently, and I was like, these baby dinosaurs are so cute. But I was like, they're
Yeah.
not like the cute dinosaurs in The Land
No,
Before
very
Time.
different aesthetic from the cartoon.
Yeah, and then again, and talking about animal welfare and like control and not knowing anything, I was like, why are they allowed to hold the babies like immediately after they hatch? I was like, I feel like
Yes.
that messes up something too.
Fair.
Getting in germs. You don't let anyone hold a newborn baby
That's such
outside.
a good point.
So I was thinking about that. I said I was obsessed with Jessica Goldblum being a doctor and looking like that.
The rock star, like, kid, like, hand
I laughed so hard when it just was him on the table with his chest out.
Oh.
That was like, because I've seen that picture
I was
before,
just
but I
gonna
didn't know
say.
the
Yes.
context of it. But the
Such a
fact that it was
famous
just a
meme.
straight cut to him
Yes.
looking like that, I was like, okay, great. Great, great, great. Um, Let's see. Oh yeah, I was like, why are we getting out of the car? We're in the T-Rex is. Why are the
Yes.
adults not doing anything? Why aren't the
Yes.
park people trying to get the people out?
Yeah.
I was like, I know that they don't know the extent yet, but then they were talking about how there was a tropical storm. So I was like, why? I was like, why'd they send them out when they know that there's a tropical storm, even if they don't know that all the power is gonna, all of this stuff. I was like,
100%.
what is going on?
Right, they could have ended the tour at any time and brought them back, but
Yes.
they kept waiting. And then when they
Yes.
got out to go check on the Triceratops, and then they talked about not having the locks on the door, and they're trying to, like, usher them back, they get divided
Mhm.
because Ellie stays with the one
Mhm.
ranger
Yeah.
to, like, tend to the giant pile of shit, and the rest go back
Yeah.
and get back in the Jeeps. And so
Mhm.
it's just like, yeah, and maybe that's storytelling. I didn't read the
Right,
book, right? The
right.
famous book that it's based on. It is effective, and also it's completely insane that that's how they would be making decisions.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, when when Timmy's in the tree and then he was like, I threw up. It reminded me of this meme where it's like me waking up to my parents telling them I threw up, like standing in the hallway in the dark because it was just so sad. He was just like, I threw up. I was like, no, I'm sorry.
And he's such a little kid.
He's so little.
Like, they're both so young to be on this trip, but
Yes.
he's really young.
I know. And I just couldn't get it out of my head that was their grandfather and he was not like doing more to get
Yes.
them out. I felt like he was not doing anything and not being proactive at all, trying to get his grandchildren out.
Yeah, and I think it's like we're watching his veil of denial crumble
Right.
faster than we're watching him spring into action.
Yeah.
He's very almost immobilized by the disbelief that this is what's happening.
Failing. And I think he wants to
Yeah.
believe that it'll work. So it's
I
like,
agree.
they're not in that much danger. Because of course, like this is designed this way.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
can't be hurt.
They'll just hang out in the Jeep in the rain, but it
Yeah.
sucks that they're not like actually in danger of being eaten.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's like this weird disconnect that we're watching him go through
Mm.
where he cannot accept how bad this is.
Yeah.
So that
Totally.
actually ties into one of my questions I had, was that he basically refuses to accept that this dream he's had is turning into a catastrophe, even as people start dying.
Hmm.
And so, what do you think about someone who almost holds on to their passion to the point of denial, and they cannot see when they've crossed the line?
Mm. God, that's so hard. It's like you want to be just like, wake up, girl. Like people are people are dying. Like
Yeah.
things are happening. I don't know. It just felt, yeah, I don't know. He was just moving way too slow for me, because it was like maybe he could have salvaged the park. Like
Right.
maybe if he had worked a little faster on actually just like getting people to safety and then like securing the perimeter, whatever.
Excellent point. Yeah.
But
Shut everything down.
yeah, I don't know. It just, but yeah, it did feel like he was dragging his feet of like wanting to prove that this thing works. And
Yeah.
well, maybe not I've been working, but I've spent all this money on
Right.
making this thing
Yeah.
happen. Yeah. So I couldn't understand him of what he was doing. And when he was like trying to read the blueprints, and then
Yeah.
was just like, man, like let
Give me
me
this
like,
fucking thing.
yeah, like he didn't know what to do. It's like, man, you don't know anything. Like I don't
Right.
think you know anything about this park except that you spent money
That's such a
and
good
to make
point.
it. Like I don't know if he really knows. Now I'm like, I should go back and watch some of the more like scientific things where he's talking about, like, does he actually know what he's talking about? It feels like maybe he doesn't even, it's just kind of like regurgitating what the scientists or whatever that he hired said,
Yeah, that's a really good point, because now it makes me wonder, do we think that he's more ignorant and we
Mm,
have maybe a little sympathy for that? And not
mm,
empathy, but like, do we have any sympathy that maybe he's ignorant?
mm-hmm.
Or what I'm actually thinking of is kind of bringing a lot of what we just talked about, is when he goes to get Grant and Ellie, he already misleads them.
Yeah.
So that makes me think it's actually a little bit more manipulative, and that the manipulative part of him might be what keeps him from actually taking any accountability.
I think it might be. I definitely see
Yeah.
that, because now I can't remember exactly, but it feels like there was some things when they were trying to get stuff back online, and he was really dragging his feet on like the steps
Mhm.
that you had to do to
Yeah.
get all of that stuff. So it feels like, yeah, maybe he's like really trying to obfuscate like what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. Yeah, I didn't trust him from the moment he got down, for sure.
Fair.
And I just kind of never knew what his intentions were of like, I guess it's just to make money. It never
Yeah.
seemed like he was really in the love of it for the science, for the dinosaurs, for
Yeah.
any of that. It just was like, yeah, this is a theme park that will make, and they say that they're like, this is going to make us a lot of money.
Well, I think that's where it gets, and it's really interesting. That's why I love having these conversations, because I think up until, again, this recent rewatch, I was really swept up in him being this like older, sweet grandpa.
Oh,
And then when they're sitting down after everything is really falling apart, but they're not really safe yet, and Ellie's eating the ice cream, and he tells the story about how he wanted to make something real that people could see and touch and experience, because he had to do his little like flea circus as a
right.
kid, and where are the fleas? Show me the fleas. And like he wanted to build an experience.
Mhm.
That's how I always remember feeling about him. Is that like
Interesting.
tenderness of like this old man had this lifelong dream to
Oh.
create something so awe-inspiring that it was going to change how people saw the world.
Hmm.
Until this time, my first thought was, when he gets off the helicopter, well, I guess they don't see him get off, but when
Mhm.
they come into their trailer, Ellie and Grant, and he's in there and he's, opening the champagne, and I was just thinking, dude, some guy just got killed at your park, and you're in their little trailer, and you're luring them in with the funding. I'm going to
Yeah,
fund your
yeah,
site for 3 more years if you come with me to this park and give me the green light that we're safe to
yeah.
go, because the attorneys want an outside opinion about how
Mhm.
the park is operating. I'm like, bitch, you just had an employee get eaten.
Yeah,
You're giving them the smallest part of that story
yeah,
to lure that. I like felt totally different towards him this time. And I think it's
yeah,
really reflective of just our world of
yeah.
like, I don't feel bad for you.
Yeah, I felt, and I was annoyed at him too, because I was like, dang, they just like spent all this time uncovering at their site and he just ruined
That
it.
too.
But I didn't feel the same way about the flea thing at all.
Yeah.
That felt, when I was listening to that, I was like, oh, he's always been a con man. It felt kind of like Wizard of Oz, the wizard,
Yes.
like of the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
I'm selling something that's not really there type thing. That's how I
Amazing.
felt, of like, okay. I was like, so
Yeah.
you've always been doing something kind of shady of
And I think you're
taking people's
actually like,
money.
if there's a right answer, I think you're right. like, I do really think you've nailed it, and maybe part of that was seeing it as a kid and being swept up in the magic, and then you're
It's
almost, like,
grandpa.
sad.
Yeah, it's grandpa.
And
He
you're
just
sad
wants
it
to make
didn't work
something
out.
cute and fun for his
Exactly.
grandkids to experience.
And it's so interesting because that's my baseline that I think for decades now
Yeah.
that has felt true. And then, you know, everything's on fire, and I don't have a lot of empathy for the old white billionaire whose
Right.
plan fell through
And it's
and
killing people.
literally cost people their lives.
Yeah.
And he's in the oh poor me ho hum phase. And I'm like, too bad, too sad.
Like, fix it. We gotta fix it right now. Yeah.
It just was fascinating in having this conversation now. Like, I actually really appreciate that your intuition was more like, I don't know if this is the person we want to be putting our faith in.
Yeah.
When clearly it's about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a right answer. That feels much more accurate to me at this point.
Yeah.
So I really respect that. So kind of in that same, like, the money and capitalism vein, I call him, so his character's name is Nedry, Dennis. So I call him Newman.
Yeah, that's what Alex, my partner, he was like, oh, I've been watching Seinfeld recently. That's Newman.
I kept calling him Newman, even though that's not his name in the movie.
Yeah.
But basically, he betrays everything for just some money.
Yeah.
I mean, probably a good chunk of money in the 90s, but not a ton of money, especially compared to the park. And so I'm just wondering, like, when you have either seen someone, this could be like fictional or realistically, who just blows something up for a reward that seems pretty small compared to the cost.
Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot in real life and and fictionally.
Yeah.
So it's like the quick thing of like, oh, I can just do this and then I have enough for me right now kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was very blasé about, you just steal one of each of the embryos and it's fine. Like, it's super easy. And I think it's also interesting, like, maybe they say it, maybe I didn't catch it, but in my mind, it felt like we don't know what he's like. It's for someone else. I thought it was like, oh, maybe it's like a competitor or something, but I maybe I missed it, but I thought I didn't hear like what he's actually selling, like who he's selling it to, the entity. So I was like, oh, so it really doesn't even matter like where these dinosaurs are going.
I do think the implication is it's a competitor that wants to, again, bypass however many years of science they did, steal their product and then create their own part. That's how I've always interpreted it.
That's the vibe I was getting, but I was like, but we don't know much about it. We're just like, oh, like, here you go. And
I know.
Yeah. When he was running away, I was like, man, like, I get it. You're like trying to like steal, but I was like, can we close some gates while we're at it? Like, do something.
Well, I think your point of like, just for me is the key, right? So like, even if he, you know, messes up the computer, shuts off some gates, the fact that it never dawned on him that he would be putting everybody in jeopardy, not just screwing Hammond for the research, the technology, the product. There are living vicious creatures in here, and you don't care about turning off the gate systems and shutting down the phone.
Yeah.
That is really insane for, what was it? Like $1 million? I can't remember.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
That's also wild.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even dawn on you the ramifications of this.
Yeah.
Like, stealing was bad enough.
Right.
But putting everyone's life, including your own, in jeopardy.
Like, surely we could have done this a different way. I don't know.
You would think, or some sort of plan of like, okay, maybe I shut off the phones and the cameras and the one gate, but not all these security systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is kind of that sweet vengeance that his own decision gets him killed.
Right.
I mean, I'm not sad that he gets eaten.
Right. That was a fun scene.
I do love that. And kind of going back to the puppetry, I think that dinosaur is terrifying.
I liked it. He had a lot of personality. He had a lot of spunk.
He does. His little like thing that comes up and he spits acid.
Yeah.
But I do remember thinking like, he looks like a dog. We were kind of comparing. But then the teeth and like the sound also kind of, I think, sets off your nervous system of like, oh, he's making this like rattling. It's almost like a rattlesnake, right? Like, to me, it's a warning bell. Like, this is not the dinosaur you want to
stay back.
Yeah.
And again,
he's small.
Him getting in the car too. I was like, how do they keep getting into all these places that they need to not be? Yeah.
Well, I know at least the raptors can open doors. That was supposed to make it even scary.
Yes, that was scary. The little claws coming out.
And they're figuring it out. And they're like, we need to block the door because it can actually, it's smart enough to figure that out.
Learning. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so if we go back to Jeff Goldblum, the rock star scientist, So basically, he shows up and he's already knowing and convinced that everything will fail. And he's very outward about his concerns and says so loudly, and yet nobody listens. So have you or do you know anyone who's ever been the person in the room who saw that a disaster was coming and was pretty silenced in the process?
Probably. I would say, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm very perceptive of like things that are going on. And you're like, ding, ding, ding. I don't think that's gonna work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was also interesting that it kind of felt like maybe they weren't taking him seriously too because of him being like that
Kind of
coolio rock
eccentric.
star.
Yeah.
Like for the I honestly even thought for like maybe the first 10 minutes that we knew him that they were joking that he was a doctor because I was like, surely he can't be the doctor because he's walking and talking like that. So maybe I misjudged him a little too. But that's kind of how it felt. It was like, oh, how does he really know all this stuff, or how can he be the authority? Because
how
he's outside.
himself.
Yeah, he's like outside of the realm of what a paleontologist or scientist or whatever is.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's almost like a chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
Like, did they design him that way to make him less believable, or was he just less believable because that's how he carries
Yeah, I was like,
and shows
I
up?
was like, I think maybe they just wanted him to have his shirt off.
I mean,
and laying on the table.
And I do think they wanted him to be like a pretty stark contrast from Ellie and Grant. And I love that his science is chaos.
Yeah.
And I do remember, like, again, I was a kid. I had no idea what these different fields of science were to begin with. But in years since, like reading about chaos theory and like learning about it, it is neat that he's the voice that comes in and is kind of chopping them down every chance he can of like, you think you know what you're talking about and you have no idea. He's like, I don't even know. I'm just the voice saying you don't know.
Yeah.
And we have no way of knowing how a group of all female, animals can breed. I'm just saying you can't guarantee they can't.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that too. There was a lot of like little pro feminism things.
Yeah.
What was the last thing at the end that Laura Dern said? It was something about it. It was because she was the one who was going to go over to turn back on the gates or whatever. Yeah. And then the Hammond or whatever, the old guy was like, no, I can't let you do that. And she was like, really? Like, I was like, yeah, come on, girl.
Like, this is not the 1960s. Yes. And we're all in peril. So this isn't a time that's what she says. Yes. This isn't a time for like
us to debate feminism or sexism or something like that. Yeah.
Or like chivalry or something. Like, I'm going to go because I can go, and we all need to be doing whatever we can do.
Right. And I really like
try to survive this. Yes. And she has the other great line earlier where they talk about man creates dinosaur destroys man, woman inherits the earth.
Yes.
That really famous line. I'm like, I mean, honestly, again,
one I'd never heard. And when she said that, no, I never heard that one either. And so I was like, oh, again, what a great line.
This is so great. You're getting all the best quotes and like hitting for the
first time. And it did hit for the. I gave a chuckle and I gave a little clap.
Snap.
Yes.
What about Malcolm's line of you were so preoccupied with whether or not you didn't stop to think if you should? That's one of the biggest lines.
Oh, again, I feel like I'm hearing it again for the first time because it's like you forget. I don't know. Yeah, because it's so new, but such great like framing of the world that they're in, and the science with also just like man's conquest type thing. Like, I don't know, it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think it lands, and a lot of that stuff again is still so applicable,
right?
Because not that this movie has anything to do with AI, and in our Matrix episode, that's all we talked about. I also had that experience in this rewatch of like he's talking about cloning and more like these tangible examples of again hubris and like a false sense of control. But I just kept thinking about AI and everything he was saying in his character role. I kept applying to the arguments we're having currently about AI.
Interesting.
So this piece of like you took somebody else's research and then you ran with it and you stamped it and you put a label on it so you could sell it, but you never really thought about the ramifications of it or how much power it actually has. You think you have the power, but you're creating this thing that's growing faster than you can imagine or understand. And yet you think you still have all the guardrails in place. And so every time he was talking, I was like, oh my God, this is everything I feel about technology and our relationship with tech, which was something else that also stood out to me this time was that I think it's a real conversation around capitalism, but I also think it's a conversation around technology.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's interesting is that Lex, the little girl, is like the
Mm-hmm.
computer whiz,
Yeah.
right? And Grant is very tech aversive.
Yeah,
And I
totally.
thought that was so interesting this time of like when they're at the dig site in the very
Yep.
beginning and, you know, they're introducing this new tech where you put that thing underground, you set it off, and then it creates a digital image.
Mm-hmm.
And Grant kind of rolls his eyes and he's like, oh, I hate computers. And basically they're trying to convince him like this is the future of our
Mm-hmm.
field.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept having this moment of like, you could really use this as an argument for how fast tech is advancing and us needing to maybe have a more cautionary relationship with it, just like we're having this cautionary conversation around like money and power and control.
Totally.
And I don't know, it just really landed this time of like, even when Sam Jackson can't figure out what Newman
Yeah.
has done, and he's like, God, I hate this hacker shit.
Yeah.
Because it all comes down to this one man's computer.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing of like the whole reason it goes on for so long is because no one can turn it off, you know?
Correct.
And then finally she's like, oh, I know this. And
yeah, which I did love.
Yes.
She and her relationship to tech also saved the day.
Yeah.
But there were so many lines this time that I was really thinking like, this seems to be a commentary too of just like how quickly things change. And when we think we understand, we miss opportunities to maybe ask us how much we actually understand.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think with the science part, not the tech part, like I think those conversations, all of those lives that they're having around them could probably be applied to the tech conversations as well too.
At least
totally.
recently.
Yeah.
It's like really landed that way of like, wow, I think we think we're not building something that could destroy us because we control it. And I keep wondering, like, when you hear how these things are evolving so fast and how computers, social media, AI, whatever does affect us, it's like, do we really still have the reins? Or it's just less obvious than a dinosaur eating a man off the toilet.
It's like maybe we'll see this in 30 years or whatever. It'll be a Jurassic Park, but for AI.
I don't know. It just really stood out to me this time. And at the same time, so the children are the ones who ultimately save the day, you know, and they're not experts and they're not adults and they don't really have any authority. So I'm wondering, when was the last time maybe you saw something unexpected that actually was the way out, or someone that you didn't expect showed the way out of a situation? And again, it could be fictional or real life.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I've been watching a lot of reality TV lately. I'm like, what's happening there? I'm watching Jersey Shore for the first time. So I'm like, what's unexpected in there?
That's fair. I have not actually watched Jersey Shore.
I mean, there's not too much going on there. I don't know. I think it's like, I like what you said about like the kids. And I think that they kind of have to forge their own path. Well, again, I was just like, where are the adults like helping them, especially when that lawyer like gets out of the car the first time and he doesn't close the door.
He just abandoned.
I know. I was like, guys, there's children in here. Like, shouldn't that be the first people to save and like try to protect them?
He's so selfish.
I know. So I think seeing that of like them being so smart and really like
that part.
Yeah, they're really thinking it through and like how to protect each other and like very sweet. So yeah, I can't think of any anything for that, but sure, it's happened for sure.
I know. And I don't have a good answer either. I just was trying to think about like how, I don't know how intentional that was in the writing, but I like that at least to me, it subverts your expectations.
Of who's going to be the one to save the day.
Exactly,
kind of
right?
thing,
Because they are little, both physically and as kids, and then they're vulnerable.
Right.
And even though there's not a lot of adults, there's only the two of them. And so to me, it's just such a neat surprise that they end up coming full circle and save everybody.
Yeah.
Even though nobody's really, I mean, I think there's a whole dynamic here of Grant evolving and connecting with them.
Yeah.
Essentially, though, to your point, they're pretty abandoned. They're
Yeah.
just like, okay, I got to save myself, figure it out.
Yeah.
And yet they end up saving everybody. I just think it lands really sweetly.
I agree.
But yeah, so Dr. Grant spends the whole film being forced to protect and connect with these kids that he never wanted around and discover something in himself he didn't know was there. When has there ever been maybe an unwanted situation that brought something out in you that you weren't expecting?
I don't know. It kind of feels like forced proximity. like I feel like that happens too.
Sure.
You know, I don't like this TV show or
Sure,
something,
yeah.
but my partner's watching it all the time, so I'm sitting there and then I'm, like kind of
Get sucked in.
he does that with my like with Love Island or something like that. He's like, man, I can't believe whatever did that.
Right.
I'm like, do you like this? He's like, no, I don't. I'm like, well, you sure know a lot about what's going
Yeah,
on
you
in
seem a
there.
little bit invested.
Yeah, I think you know it. So yeah, maybe I think it was that of like I had like forced proximity.
Yeah.
These kids that are abandoned that don't have anyone to care for them, and if I don't do it, then who's going to?
Right.
So it was sweet. It was like a little annoying too of just the like, oh my god, just get over it. Like and just being like, I hate kids. And I was like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. You'll be okay.
I guess they had to give him some character arc to
Yeah,
grow from
totally,
because
totally.
otherwise it's just a survival movie.
Right, right.
And we got to see, I think, some of their character where because he was posted as kind of this like anti-kid,
Yeah.
grumpy, solitary guy with just him and Ellie, and then he over and over again risks his life to help these kids.
Yeah.
I think it's supposed to help us feel some of that connection to him
Totally.
of how
Which,
he's
yeah,
grown into.
I definitely felt that.
Yeah.
I was like, we get it. You don't like kids.
Yeah.
You're which made me kind of surprised that he was even like they were even in a relationship because I was like, that kind of feels like the type of guy that's just like a solo brooding man type thing. So
Yeah, and they don't really ever explain it because the movies go in so many different directions, and they came back for that last iteration of the one that had Bryce Dallas Howard in it because there was 3.
Okay.
And they're friends, they're just not together.
Okay.
And I think even in the 3rd Jurassic Park, he visits her and she's married, and they're still friends. And so it does seem
Interesting.
to be like his theme is he's very research and work focused, and maybe that's what attracted them to each other is like their love for the sciences.
Right.
You're right. Like their relationship is referenced over the years in all the different movie versions, but never really the point anymore. Yeah. So I don't know if that was true to the books,
Right.
or if it was more just like a way that they wrote it to give him, again, some growth arc. And makes Ellie really a badass too because she's very independent and does her own thing.
Totally.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about this already too, and I did have a question around like in watching this, did anything come up for you and how we think about the relationship between human ambition and the consequences of those ambitions?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the human life aspect,
Yes.
at any cost conquest,
Yes.
taking over, going far away to grab the amber eggs, like, all of these things. It was, just kind of no expenses spared type thing of like, I'll do whatever to get what I want. Um, and it felt like there was a lot of bad things that happened because of it. So
100%.
I don't know. It really felt like, we're not thinking through what could we're not thinking through all of A, B, and C of what could happen, which I feel like we really need to do that if we're dealing with these killer animal type things,
Yeah.
So I was just so shocked at no one works here and everything is going wrong and there's nothing that they can do about it, it seems like. So I had no idea how they would get out of the situation because it just felt like dead end, kind of thing.
And it is a lot of things that they're stacked up against because they didn't plan or prepare or have any sort of mechanisms in place for all the things that ended up happening. So it's a lot for the characters to overcome.
Yeah. So I think the cost of just like, just really everything. And this, I don't, it was just everything. Like, and it just felt very greedy and
for sure. Yes.
Yeah. And kind of also like no point into why we need to be doing this in the first place, which I think sometimes feels a lot like when rich people do stuff. It's like, what do we need this? Like,
or is it just your fantasy because you're bored?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And again, at whatever cost.
Yeah. And you want to fill your time or make a name or whatever. Yeah. And that's exactly what it felt like with this of like, I don't know if we need to be doing this.
I mean, so fair. Other than for the movie, which
was great. It was just fun.
Okay. More notes from you, and then I just have a few more.
Okay, let's see. I think I got close to the end.
Okay.
Of mine. Yeah, I think the last step was just like the way that Timmy flew back. And then I wrote like how I was like, oh my god, how did this motherfucker get in about the thing? But I think the nice thing was that Hammond or the the rich guy. He did come to the conclusion at the end that it was bad.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't sure if he was going to make it there, honestly. I kind of thought that maybe he would be like, okay, but we'll try again later. And who knows, maybe that's the sequel. I don't know. But at least for this movie, it was like, okay, he came to the conclusion that like this was really bad.
Right.
People died. Like maybe we should just get off this island and leave it be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like dragging him to that conclusion.
Totally.
You're right. I do think, at least the way it shows on screen, is it feels genuine at the end, that he is in agreement of not.
So like closing the helicopter door, being like,
let's get out of here. Yeah. This was a huge mistake.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, some redemption, I guess, in that fact of like, and also I just thought it was funny of the way it ends. It's like, all right, where do we go from here now? Like, what are the ramifications of everything that just transpired here?
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, there's like 8 movies.
So there we go. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I do want to come back to that, because I think it's created a very interesting franchise and like universe that kind of asks the same questions in different ways. But before we kind of get to that, as we're wrapping up, I'm just curious what you thought about sort of those last, I guess you'd say, the last act of the movie. So Timmy and Lex, when they have to run and hide from the Velociraptors, is some of, I think, the best tension on screen. If we set aside all the criticisms and politics of it, just the movie making aspect of that scene where the raptors are pursuing them and they're in the kitchen. And again, I just think that the puppeteering and everything is so terrifying.
It's very scary.
And so well done. Yeah. Such like these great moments. And then the big wrap up where the T-Rex is the one that saves the day.
Yeah.
And I just wonder what you think about how that all comes together in the end.
It was just like go, go, go. I really loved the kitchen scene, because I knew it was coming. Again, now I had seen one clip from that of when Timmy's like sitting against, I'd seen like that clip, just a little bit of that. So when it hadn't happened and they were back safely at the visitor center, I was like, oh God. I was like, oh, so they're not safe.
Something more is coming.
I was like, oh shoot. So then again, when they got left alone and they're like eating all the beautiful food and they're like feel that they're safe, but then it's like, oh no, all these kids have to go through this again. The puppetry was amazing, and there probably was like some CGI too, because it like jumps up on the table like at one point and like stuff fall. I was just like, I don't know, all the practical effects were just like so mind blowing, because it just looks so real.
Agreed.
Obviously practical, but I think that was like one of the first things I wrote, was like, God, I miss when movies looked like movies and felt like movies
so much. You're speaking my language.
Because I was just like, wow, I can see everything. Like there's dimension, there's depth, like it looks interesting. It's not all one whatever. So it was like really cool to watch. The T-Rex, I don't think that was also, I guess, kind of like a, whoa, I didn't think he would come through. Especially, I thought it was also really interesting of them being like on the bones of like
dangling them the ceiling.
Yes, them being on the bones, and then like the real thing comes through to like do it. Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if he's gonna. I was like, will he just eat them all because they're there too,
right?
And maybe they're easier to grab because they can't really fight back. So but. It was fun. It was a fun way to kind of wrap it all up. It's like the original villain saves the day.
Yeah, I really appreciate, I think, again, even that kind of subverts, because they do a good job of building so much tension, that I also remember thinking like, they've survived so much. How are they possibly going to get through this? Right? Because the raptors become, I think, so much scarier than the T-Rex because they're so smart. Yeah. And they work as the group. Yeah. And they hunt as that pack, right? And so I just remember thinking, even though I had been so terrified of the T-Rex, an hour-ish before, when it comes through and fights off the raptors, it's almost like, that's the greatest moment ever.
You're like, thank you.
The T-Rex is the hero.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a cool emotional roller coaster to go through. Because again, like when seeing it for the first time, you don't really know. It's just, it's so like emotionally all over the place to have that experience. Yeah. Oh, the last part I was going to ask you about too was, when we were talking about those Easter eggs. So that famous part in the beginning where Grant scares that kid that's really annoying about how Velociraptor hunts. Yeah. And then we get to see that scene with the one park ranger, I guess we'll call him. Yeah. What you thought about getting to see that play out in real time.
Yeah, that was cool, because when the kid was, there were so many like lines where you're like, this is exactly, I guess, what's going to happen later. You're just like, I can kind of feel it. But it's so, thinking that. And that was that was funny to maybe not funny, but interesting to see play out of like, oh my gosh, they are really working in tandem. And same with like when they were in the kitchen too,
Yes.
of all of that. And I think how he calls him, oh, you clever girl or something like that. It's like, yeah, they really, yeah, they are really like evolving of opening doors and getting into places they shouldn't be and like really thriving in this like environment that's not meant for them at all.
Yeah. Which brings Malcolm's point all together, right? Like they have found the way to become the apex predator, even though you're treating them like they're pets.
Right.
Like these little puppies that you get to hold when they're babies. And then now it will rip your entire body.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. So I guess kind of as we're winding down, is there anything that you think would have hit differently if you had seen it as a kid?
I think I would have been a lot more scared for sure, especially because I was afraid of dinosaurs. And like, I thought they were really interesting, but like the bigness, I think, of it would probably have scared me. But it honestly feels it felt very fresh and not stale. Or, you know, sometimes you watch older movies and it's like, oh, that didn't age too well. And I didn't feel like, I don't think I had that thought written for this movie. So I was like, yeah, I had a good time. I didn't know exactly where it was going to go, but I was watching it and I enjoyed it. So yeah, I liked it. It was fun.
Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think number 2 is pretty good.
Okay.
It takes place on a second island. So the way they get around the story is that they had another island where they would like breed some of the dinosaurs, but they were never contained. And then someone ends up on that island trying to do research. And then it pulls in one old character from the first one.
Interesting.
And then the third one is pretty bonkers and off the rails, where some people who were just like vacationing end up on the island on accident. And then the family's trying to go like find them, and they have to bring along a original character to kind of help them navigate. So it kind of starts to fall apart over time.
Got it.
I think the reboots, so those are the ones with Bryce Dallas Howard. The first one, Jurassic World, is actually very good.
Maybe that's the one I saw. I feel like
exactly the same.
Yeah.
So basically, this idea that because it jumps to whenever that movie came out, I don't remember, but
like
much
12,
more recently,
13,
that we have all this tech, we have all the safety,
right?
We've learned from the mistakes of Jurassic Park way back in the day, because it is in the same world. Like it's very aware of and talking about Jurassic Park in the reboot. We're going to fix all the mistakes that they made. And of course, as one does, repeats them in different ways.
Right.
That one's actually pretty fun, but it does start to keep falling apart. Because how many times can you make the mistake without the audience just being like, okay, now have I seen them all? Of course. Did I see them all in the theater? Absolutely. And do they really crumble as the series goes on? 1,000%.
Whatever.
But
you gotta juice it for all it's
there are more out there if you're interested.
Okay, cool.
So 1 week from now, that's what I ask everybody as we're ending. What image or moment from the movie do you think will live rent free in your head?
It really is Timmy getting electrocuted on the fence. Like, I'm sorry. It was so jarring because I didn't think he would fall back from that. So it's either that or Laura Dern downstairs with the raptor just like right. Yeah, because that one was the one that really scared me because I was not expecting it at all. Because at least with the T-Rex, you're like, sure, obviously he's out somewhere. He's going to do something. But I don't know. In my mind, I was like, she probably closed the door or whatever. And so like they can't come down here.
I know.
Yeah. So
that's how we find out they're so much scarier than we think they are.
Yeah. So that's, that one was probably the like scariest one for sure.
Great answer. I think for me, it's definitely still when he's breaking through the Jeep and the kid.
Yeah, that one's scary
because I really noticed in my body this time. I'm like, I'm worried about them, even though I know this is fake. Like my anxiety is spiking for these poor kids, and he just seems so menacing and huge, which is the point,
right?
But I just think that's one of those great classic moments from the movie where you're just like, how are they going to survive? But all right, awesome. So we kind of talked about this off mic when we were picking this movie, but one thing I'm ending with is I am creating a list of homework items for me from guests so that we can flip the script down the road.
Right.
So what's a movie that you love that maybe I haven't seen? And then
I feel like I told you some and there was some that you didn't.
You did. You told me.
Oh, you know what? I think the one that you would like, since you said you like Hitchcock.
Yes,
is you should do Rope.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Rope by Hitchcock, because it's filmed like a play where they it's all one take until their film runs out. And so then it'll just like go behind someone and then it continues the scene of one continuous take until the film. So
Amazing.
I think it's really cool because, again, like murder mystery, who done it kind of thing, but you're really there because there's no cuts.
I
And
love
so
it.
that's really fun. So I would do Road.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So that's the next on the list.
Cool.
So I haven't decided how many in this format we'll do because
Okay.
it's so fun right now. And then I'm going to basically go back and start watching all the movies from
Cool.
each of my lovely guests. And then
Lovely.
we'll have to flip it and
Okay.
I'll come with my notes. And
Okay.
you get to ask me great questions.
Okay,
Because I
cool.
love watching things that I've also done.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
Yeah,
So
no, I love that.
awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out with us again. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you hadn't seen Jurassic Park and you watched it to have this chat with us, I hope that you're also now on the Jurassic Park train. If you had seen it, hopefully maybe you got a new perspective. I learned some great things just by talking about it again. But please, you can follow me on Instagram at Scene Interpretation Pod. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, leave comments, let me know what you're thinking. This is how I'm spending my time and I'm loving it, but it's always fun to kind of hear what people are taking away from it. So until next time, bye.